Hey guys, it's Julia. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be the fourth installment of my anti-haul series, where basically I go through all the newly released eyeshadow palettes on the market and I tell you guys what I'm not going to be buying. I just want to preface this by saying my obvious disclaimer. These are all my opinions. I don't mean any disrespect to anybody. If you want to pick up these palettes, by all means go ahead. I'm just going off of what my personal preference is. Anti-hauls are kind of what we all do in our minds while we're trying to decide what we're going to buy in the first place. So I kind of just wanted to verbalize that and give you guys my opinions, maybe help to combat some consumerism, because I feel like there's always this kind of pressure to purchase everything that's new in the market, and especially for me, as I'm an eyeshadow lover, I always feel this compulsion like, oh my god, that's a beautiful palette, and then I realize I don't need it. I have a million colors like that in my collection. So I just wanted to put this into words. I'm saying this because I know a lot of people really just find anti-hauls to be inherently negative. I don't hate any of these brands. I mostly love all these brands I'm talking about. These are just particular products that I'm not going to buy for one reason or another. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys agree with some of these points. And then if you don't know my format for anti-hauls, usually I do 20 items that I'm not going to buy. Today I'm doing 15. And at the end of the anti-haul, I like to insert 5 items that I am planning on buying, just to bring some positivity into the anti-haul and just give some reasoning on things that I actually do want to pick up. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's get right into it because there are so many new releases and I hope you guys enjoy it. As always, I do have my laptop here on my lap with all the pictures of the products. I will be flashing them here on screen, so let's get right into it. So the first palette that I'm going to be passing on is the Kat Von D 10-year anniversary collection. Just the palette in particular I'm going to be talking about in this video. From the looks of it, the packaging is stunning. Kat Von D always kills it with her packaging because she is an artist, so she does design and draw out all the packaging. Everything is in her own artistic design, so I think it's really amazing. She's clearly a very talented artist, and I love that she can kind of infuse her artistic talent into her products. The palette does look gorgeous. It is a rainbow themed palette, so if you're one of those people who missed out on the Mi Vida Loca palette and you really want that one, I think this could be something to look into. While it is a rainbow palette, most of the colors that I would want to be mattes are shimmers. For example, this beautiful kind of teal green is a shimmer, the purple is a shimmer. You have just a lot of colors that I wish were kind of mattes, and I personally don't really care for Kat Von D's shimmer formula. I prefer her matte shadows, and just in general, I know that there's going to be a lot of people who really want to get this palette. It's probably going to be very hard to pick up, so I'm going to be passing on this one. The packaging looks stunning, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like it's not everything that I would want it to be, and at this point in my life I don't really want to be adding new palettes to my collection that I don't 100% want. So this looks gorgeous. I think Kat Von D did an amazing job, and congratulations to her on 10 years, but personally I'm not going to be picking up any of this collection. Next up, Huda Beauty is coming out with 2 new Mini Obsessions palettes. So there's the Gemstone Obsessions and the Coral Obsessions. I have tried a few of her Obsessions palettes. I tried the Warm Brown and the Mauve Obsessions palettes. So I'm going to start off with the Coral Obsessions. This one looks really pretty. If you want a good dupe for the Natasha Denona Sunset palette, I think this looks very similar. Personally though, I will not be picking this one up because I have found out that I'm actually allergic to the red shadows that Huda includes in her Obsessions palettes. That's why I had to return the Mauve Obsessions, because I got a really bad dermatitis reaction on my eyelids and I don't want to risk it again. So I'm passing on the Coral Obsessions. It is really pretty though, and I think it's a fun twist on the typical warm tone palette. And then the other palette is the Gemstone Obsessions. So this one has all shimmer shadows. They're all really nice jewel tone colors, and at first I was really interested in this because you guys know that Huda Beauty's shimmer formula is one of my favorites. I love the duochrome and glitter shadows in her Desert Dusk palette, and I think her shimmer formula is amazing. But I was just looking at this palette. The colors look gorgeous. They look beautiful, but they don't seem to be the texture that I would want them to be, because Huda has 2 different shimmer formulas. She has the very textured duochrome shadows. She also has these toppers, and from what it looks like, these seem to be topper shadows. From the swatches, they don't seem to be very opaque. So I would like to see some reviews first. As always, anti-hauls for me, they're more of a framework of what my first impressions of the products are. Sometimes I change my mind. Case in point, the Morphe 39A palette, I did anti-haul that, and then I ended up picking it up. So my mind is always subject to changing, but I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to be buying these 2. So next up is the Laura Lee Los Angeles Nudie Patootie palette, and I'm not going to be buying this one just because the colors seem very neutral to me. Obviously, I do like neutral palettes. I have a neutral look on my eyes today, but I just bought the Anastasia Soft Glam palette. I think I'm all done with neutral palettes for now. I have everything I need in my collection for that. As always though, I think it's amazing for influencers to come out with their own brands, and I wish her all the best on her products. I'm just not going to be picking this one up or the other palette that she has in her collection, just because, I don't know, I don't really need these colors and it doesn't seem like anything new to me. Next up, Smashbox is releasing a new cover shot palette called the Pinks and Palms. It's a limited edition little palette, and I've seen the cover shot palettes before. They're actually very small. They're like this big, and the pattern sizes are very, very small. So I'm just looking at the color scheme. It looks like a stunning, beautiful, inspiring color scheme. I love the like mint green pop they threw in there. It seems to be very pastel oriented with some nice metallics as well. So I do commend them for coming out with something very new and exciting. However, I'm not going to be picking this one up just because I've tried the cover shot formula. I don't really like it that much. I think Smashbox doesn't really do my favorite eyeshadow formula. I like so many other high-end brands a lot more. I would be open to trying it, of course, but I'm just not really willing to spend my money on a formula that's not really my favorite. So I'm passing on this one. Let me know what you guys think. Next up on my list is the Besame x Agent Carter collaboration. So I was actually very excited to see this because I actually do love Agent Carter. That was one of my favorite shows. I don't believe they're making it anymore, which makes me really upset, but I'm a huge fan of the Marvel Universe, and Peggy from Agent Carter is like one of my favorite characters of all time, so I was very excited to see this one. I actually think I will pick up the lipstick from this collection just because it's a beautiful classic red shade, and there's actually a Besame store fairly near me, like an hour and a half away, so I could actually go up to Burbank and buy this lipstick myself. But I just want to talk about the palette because this video is a palette video. The palette looks pretty neutral to me. It's such a cool packaging. It's like a passport. I think the entire collaboration like aesthetic is really fun. I think they did a really amazing job with the packaging and just keeping it very consistent in terms of the vibe. I think the colors they chose are very fitting for the collaboration. They did some nice classic browns, neutrals. They have a really beautiful burgundy shade in there as well. And I love that they included a green, so it's not completely neutral. They threw in a fun color. I don't know. I've never tried Besame's formula, so I can't really speak on that. It does seem to be a nice formula just based on like swatches and stuff and from what I've heard. But I just don't really need this palette. I have all these colors in my collection, so I will pick up this lipstick. I do think that it's a beautiful collaboration, and I love that they did this. I think Besame is doing a really amazing job with their collaborations. Everything makes sense. There's always some collaborations that just never make sense to me. Like, I don't really understand why everyone was collabing with like My Little Pony last year. I don't know. But this one really makes sense to me. I think Marvel's Agent Carter does have a really like distinct makeup sense, and it really just does fit. It doesn't feel forced or anything like that. But let me know what you guys think. I think it's a really cool collaboration. Next up on the no list is the JLo and Inglot collaboration. So this is a collaboration that also makes sense to me. JLo is well known for her beautiful like glowy skin. She doesn't have a very like bold makeup style, so she's always wearing very neutral looks, but I think the main focus is her skin. So I would understand if they were coming out with like bronzers and body luminizers and maybe like a luminous foundation. That would make sense to me. Eyeshadow palettes, it doesn't really make sense to me just because I don't really know JLo for doing very bold eye looks. She always has very neutral eyes. So they are coming out with a 70-piece collaboration, which is a lot of products. And Inglot's actually more like of a professional makeup brand, so professional makeup artists really like Inglot, and as a habit, their stuff is a little bit more expensive. Just looking at the palettes though, they don't seem to be very special. The colors are pretty neutral, and they are nice colors. I think the quality of Inglot shadows are gorgeous, but I'm not really inspired by anything I've seen in this collection. It all seems to be pretty expensive. There's this one palette that's actually like $50. You get like 3 eye shades and like a bronzer, and it's just very neutral and very boring. So I don't think I'm going to be picking up anything from this collection in terms of the eyeshadow palettes. It just doesn't seem like anything that's my vibe. But let me know what you guys think. Again, it's a collaboration that does kind of make sense to me, but I don't know. These eyeshadows just don't really excite me in any way. So next up is another collab. I swear I'm not just talking about collabs in this video, but it seems like there's so many collaborations coming out lately. This one is actually not an eyeshadow palette, but it is eyeshadows. It's the KKW Beauty x Argenis or Argenis. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. But it's Argenis Pinel. He was the winner of the Glam Masters show, which is what Mario Ivanovic is actually a judge on. So it kind of makes sense to me that they collaborated. Mario and Kim have such a close relationship, so it would make sense to me that Kim would collaborate with someone who won the show that Mario judges, but whatever. They're coming out with 5 cream color sticks. So it's basically cream eyeshadow sticks, and it looks beautiful. The colors look stunning, and I'm sure these will be amazing quality. I'm not going to be picking these up just because I know that I do not use cream eyeshadows like this. I prefer powder eyeshadows. They just blend easier for me. I'm not a fan of like the cream eyeshadow formula. I don't know. I'm just not really educated in using cream eyeshadows, and I don't really want to start with a super expensive product. So they do seem like a really interesting product, but not for me. So next up on the no list is the Urban Decay Light Beam palette. And this just seems so random to me. Urban Decay is kind of going down that road of releasing a ton of products at one time, kind of like ColourPop was last year. So I'm kind of dismayed by that because they just came out with their Backtalk palette. They're also coming out with their Beach palette, which is going to be later in this video. And they're coming out with this palette as well. And I don't know what this is. It just seems so thrown together. The colors just don't really mesh in any way. There's like a really weird like silvery duochrome, but there's also like a peach shade. So I don't really know if they're going for like neutrals or cool tones or warm tones. It doesn't really make sense to me. And I don't know, Urban Decay just needs to figure out what they're doing. They're coming out with so many different collections at once, and it's just like, what? I don't know, to each their own. I know some people love Urban Decay's formula. I'm just like not a fan of this palette in general. Alright, so next up is actually a palette from a brand that I do not support and I will not purchase from, but I'm just talking about the palette in general. So Lime Crime, I do not purchase from them, and I never plan on purchasing from them just because of what their owner has done in the past. But I just want to focus on this palette. The Venus 3 Pressed Powder palette is coming out, and this is a continuation of their Venus series. They have the Venus 1, Venus 2, Venus XL, and now the Venus 3. This is a really beautiful color scheme. I really do like the fact that brands are coming out with new color schemes, and the purple palette was something that kind of emerged last year around the time that Natasha Denona's Lila palette came out. There were like two shadows in here that actually interested me, the kind of shimmery purple and then the matte purple. And I have both of those in the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette, so I do not need this palette. Yeah, just gonna be passing on this palette, not a huge fan. So this palette is one of the buzziest new palettes in general. I think I've heard so much about this in the past month, so I want to just put my 2 cents in because this was actually a palette that I was planning on purchasing. So this palette was highly anticipated just because everyone loved the Anastasia Beverly Hills X Mario palette. So I was really excited personally to see what this palette would look like because Mario has a very distinct makeup style. He does very understated colors. He just makes beautiful looks with the most neutral, beautiful colors. So I was excited to see this one just because I figured it would be a pretty similar color scheme to what he did with the Anastasia palette. And I also knew that it was probably going to be amazing quality because Mario is a professional makeup artist and I'm sure he would never sign off on anything that was like less than amazing. So I was very excited to see this one, and from what I can tell, everyone has been loving this palette. Most people think that the formula is amazing, and I do not doubt that. I think it looks like an amazing palette. I do love all the colors in here. It's beautiful. I don't mind that it's mostly neutral colors because that is what he's known for, and the colors look rich, pigmented, stunning. They probably blend amazingly. So I would actually love to own this palette. I think it would be a really beautiful palette and I would love to create looks with it. But for $45, I have most of the colors in my collection, so I don't need it. Pretty sure this is limited edition, so I might pick this up later on, but I don't need it right now, and I would probably not spend my money on this. Who knows? It is my birthday in a couple weeks, so I might like ask for this one for my birthday, but I'm not going to be spending my own money on it just because I would feel really guilty if I did. So it looks like a beautiful palette. I'm sure the formula is amazing. I don't need it. I was kind of underwhelmed. I knew that they were going to come out with colors like this one, so I'm not surprised that the color scheme is like this, but I just know in my heart that I would really regret or like at least beat myself up mentally for getting this one just because I know that I don't need it. Next up on the no list is actually a hard pass for me. I just do not want this palette in any way. So this is the Lorac Cosmetics Pro Palette number 4. So this is a continuation of their Pro Palette line. All these makeup brands are really trying to just capitalize on the existing lines that they have. Urban Decay loves like tacking onto their Naked line. Lorac likes tagging onto their Pro line. It's just their iconic thing. Everyone loves those palettes. So personally, I'm not a huge fan of Lorac's eyeshadow formula. I think it's a very soft, like buttery, creamy formula. There is a lot of fallout. And for me, I do love like a soft shadow. Anastasia in particular has one of my favorite formulas. It's a very soft, creamy formula that has a lot of kick up. But this one, while it is soft and creamy, it's very hard to blend, whereas the Anastasia one just blends like nothing. So this one is already like not my favorite formula, and then the colors in here look pretty much exactly like the Anastasia Soft Glam. So again, I don't need this palette. I think it's like not my favorite formula, and the colors I already have. So gonna be passing on this one. I have nothing against neutral palettes. I just want to make that clear. I love neutral colors, but I don't need any more of them, and especially not in my favorite formula. Next up is a picture that I actually scrolled past when I was looking on Trend Mood because I was just not interested in it at all. So I was actually like, that's kind of a telling sign when you just scroll past a palette and you don't even stop to look at it. These are the new NYX Away We Glow collection. There's 2 eyeshadow palettes. Both of them are pretty like neutral color schemes. The first one on top is actually kind of like a cool tone palette. There are some nice burgundies and some like neutrals. It kind of looks very similar to me to the like Morphe 25B palette, which I already own, so don't need this one. And then the bottom palette is actually kind of more warm toned. It has a green in there, and this one actually looks very similar to the Master Palette by Mario. So I don't really know how much these are going to be. Judging by how NYX has been increasing their prices, it's probably going to be like in the $20 range. So that's already unappealing to me. I don't want to be spending like $25 on a like drugstore eyeshadow palette when I could just go to Sephora and spend $10 more and get a better palette. So I don't really think I'm going to be picking up either of these. They just seem to be very neutral color schemes to me. And I think if you did miss out on the Mario palette, you could get this one because there are some very similar colors, but then again, it's probably going to be like expensive, just below like the price of a high-end eyeshadow palette, and for that price, I think you could totally get other palettes that have better formulas. I don't really particularly love the NYX formula. It's good, but it's not the best. Next up, Urban Decay is coming out with the Beached palette. So this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 colors in there, and it seems to be kind of going with that trend of having a pretty like warm tone neutral palette with 2 like pops of blue in there. It kind of looks very similar to the Kathleen Lights ColourPop palette, and I do like the color scheme of it. I think it's pretty. It does definitely kind of resemble a beach. There's like palm trees. You got the water obviously with the blue. You've got the palm trees and the sand. It makes sense to me as a color scheme, and it's a nice summer color scheme. So I have nothing against this formula. Again though, Urban Decay there's 2 mattes in there, and that's just not really enough. I would have loved to see one of those blues be in like a nice rich blue matte shade, but Urban Decay for some reason just likes to throw in like 2 neutral mattes and then a bunch of shimmer shades, and it just, I don't know. I just really wish this had been thought out a little bit more, just so it would be a little bit more inspiring to create some new looks with it. As this palette is, I do not think I would be buying this one. It's a cool color scheme and the packaging seems really fun. I don't need this one either. Next up is a new Cover Shot palette from Smashbox Cosmetics, and this one is actually from the new collaboration with Vlada MUA. So I am really excited about this collaboration. I think this is another collab that makes sense to me. I love the highlighters that they came out with, the beautiful like rose highlighters. Those look stunning. Very expensive though, but still beautiful. I'm just going to be talking about the palette here that they're coming out with. It's a new Cover Shot palette. So as I said before, I'm not a huge fan of the Cover Shot palette. This one looks to be pretty shimmery. It's mostly shimmer shadows, and the colors look gorgeous. They are rose golds and browns. This looks very similar to me to the Naked 3, which I was looking at this one and I was like, oh my god, this looks stunning. But then I realized I did not like the Naked 3 when I had it, so I actually ended up decluttering that one, and I just don't think I would get enough use out of this. So I think I'm going to be passing on this palette. I will be picking up some stuff from the collaboration just because it looks like a really inspired, beautiful collab, and I think it's really cool. Just the palette is not calling my name. And then finally, the last item on the no list is actually from Kylie Cosmetics. So this is the Kylie and Kourtney Kardashian collaboration. I think it's actually really cool that she's collabing with her sisters. It does make sense to me. Again, they're coming out with 3 little mini palettes. These are actually quads, so they have 4 eyeshadows in them each. Some people were reading down the packaging. I don't really mind the packaging. I think it's cute. They came out with a blue, a green, and a pink palette. And I like the green palette. I think it's really pretty. I would actually not mind having that one, and I might consider picking that one up. But the other 2 palettes are just neutral palettes, nothing special, and Kylie's formula is good. I've tried it before. I think it's a really nice matte formula. I like how they blend out, and the shimmers are like pretty hit and miss. Some of the shimmers perform really well. Some of them are just not that great. So I'm not really inspired by the pink palette and the blue palette. They just seem very neutral to me. I would consider picking up the green palette just because it looks very similar to the holiday palette that they came out with. So if you already have the holiday palette, the naughty one, I would say you do not need the green palette at all. I don't have that one, so I would consider picking this one up just because I do like the formula and it looks like a nice color scheme. But the other ones are a hard pass for me. I'm just not really interested. And now to wrap up the video, I'm just going to go through 5 new releases that I actually am planning on picking up, or I am actually interested in. So the first one are the Makeup Geek Power Pigment Collection. So they're coming out with 10 individually sold new shades of like pressed pigments. And these look gorgeous. I love that they're coming out with beautiful like rainbow super pigmented shadows. I don't really know anything about the formula. I've never tried anything from Makeup Geek, so this could be the first thing I actually buy from them. I love the colors that they came out with. I would be interested in picking up that yellow, this like kind of deep plummy shade, which is called Courageous. It's a beautiful purple. And I would actually be interested in picking up the shade Invincible, which is a nice like kind of greenish shade. Just as a whole though, this collection seems very inspired. I love that the color scheme is very bright and rainbow. I think it's really fun that they're coming out with colors like this. So I'll wait and see if people actually like the pigments. I know that pressed pigments can be kind of finicky. Some people don't really like the formulas, so I will wait to see reviews, obviously, but this could actually be my first Makeup Geek purchase, and I would be really interested to see that. So I am actually really excited about this. Next up on the yes list that I am definitely picking up is the BH Cosmetics Festival palette. I love what BH Cosmetics is doing lately. I think they're coming out with some amazing collaborations and color schemes and amazing palettes, and I'm actually planning on picking this palette up along with some other stuff that they've recently released, like the Zodiac palette. This looks stunning. I've seen some amazing looks with this one from some of my favorite YouTubers who love to play with colors. There's a healthy mix of like matte shadows and shimmer shadows. I think it's just such an inspiring, beautiful color scheme, and I love that they kind of just threw in some beautiful rainbow shades. It is a beautiful color scheme, and I'm sure I will enjoy the formula as well. well, because I do love a lot of BH Cosmetics eyeshadows. So I'm really excited about this one. Next up on the I'm thinking yes list is the Novel Cosmetics Soul Blooming palette. So I'm still waiting on picking up the Novel Cosmetics Dreamy palette. I really want to try that one. I just have not had the chance to purchase it. The shipping seems to be pretty expensive to my house, so I don't really know how I'm going to be able to get that one. I'm really hoping on picking that one up first. But the Soul Blooming palette they're coming out with looks stunning as well. It is mostly neutral shades. I love the lavender shade called Garden Gate, and then the kind of pastel blue down there called Flowery is so unique. I don't have any shadow like that in my collection. And also Anemone looks stunning. I love that shade name as well. It's just a beautiful palette, and the outside packaging, okay, I die. It's so stunning. The inside palette has to be pretty as well, and I think they did a really good job with the color scheme, but the outer packaging just really seals the deal for me. I'm also planning on picking up the ColourPop Makeup Shayla collaboration. So this one I love because they came out with a little bit of a bigger palette, and I love that it's kind of like a square shape. I don't know. I really like that. The packaging I also really like. I think the rose gold detailing is really fun. This actually, I've seen some comparisons to both the Master Palette by Mario, which I could see how that would be similar. Some people have also said that this looks very similar to the Morphe 39A palette, which I really enjoy. So overall, I think it's a really cool color scheme. I love that there's like nice pops of color in there. There's some nice colorful mattes as well. Overall, it's just a really cool collaboration. And it's $23, so I'm really excited that they didn't hike up the price to 30 something for a collaboration. It's just a beautiful palette. There's also a big mirror in there, so you guys know I love that, and I will definitely be picking this one up as well. So for some reason my camera stopped recording as I was talking about this palette, but I am definitely going to be picking up the P. Louise palette from P. Louise Makeup Academy. I love their Instagram page. I am so inspired by all their looks, and I definitely want to support them. I think this palette looks amazing, and I've seen that this is such an amazing quality palette, so I'm really excited about this one. I'm definitely planning on picking it up. Alright guys, so that concludes my 4th anti-haul. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe down below, and make sure you're also following me on Instagram so you can see my makeup looks. Obviously, this one is a neutral look, but I do really colorful looks as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you made it to the very end, I love you so much. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Bye.